call. As always, please add your name and affiliation to the list of people who are attending, just so we know who's been joining the calls regularly and can connect that way as well. All right, so here's our agenda for today. I'll pause here though and give everyone a chance to chime in if there's something that's not on the agenda and you think it should be, or something you want to have brought up as a critical thing we should tackle right off the bat. Feel free to chime in now. All right, if something does come up throughout the course of this meeting, jump right in or tackle or add anything to the end of the agenda, and we'll tackle it in the any other business section. This week we don't have a lightning talk scheduled. We do want to get one set up on the Vector API. Don't see Geeta on the call. Daryl, is that something you could suggest to her and see if she'd be willing to do?
I did suggest that to her when you asked a couple of weeks ago, and she's willing to do it. And I just asked her to get in touch with you to schedule something. I can remind her.
Okay. So then let's take a quick look at the recent end user issues. So, out of curiosity, can you see this tab that I've just opened that has the list of the recent user-raised issues?
See your screen that lists user-raised issues, yes.
Okay, good. Just wasn't sure which tab was being shown, so perfect. Just looking at what's come in, there's a question about UBI minimal images, which I think Adam's answered. Believe can be closed at this point then. Just have to get that followed up on. The other one is an increase in heap size, ZOS, which I see some discussion happening there. And the rest of these are older. Is there anything in this list that people feel needs some discussion today? Then I will jump back to the agenda and we'll take a quick look at the download stats from Adopt OpenJDK. This is the old Adopt OpenJDK, not the new version, where the old one is still able to host binaries for us, at least for some time. We see the usual trend that we see, a slight dip over the weekend, and then the numbers start to come back up. So keep an eye on that, but if there's anything particularly revealing in those numbers. So that brings us to the 0.28 release. During the last one of these calls, we said we were targeting a GA of the end of the month, so September 30th. We are now about a week away from that. Do we have an update on where we're at with this release? Pete, are you on the call?
Yeah, I'm on the call. So I put a summary of what's in the milestone. So we have 6 blockers, 6 tag method handles, 6 tag VM, 17 tag JIT, 18 tag test failure, and 2 tagged AArch64.
Okay. That 21 pending items, that's not 21 plus 6 plus 6 plus 6. It's
No, that's 21, and then those are all. That's how they're tagged. So you can't add up all the numbers and get 21 because some things are tagged in multiple labels. So it might be tagged JIT and a test failure. It might be tagged a blocker and JIT, etc.
okay. Do we have a feel for how far off we are with closing out those 21 items?
It seems to me like the remaining items aren't easy to resolve. They're not easy to repeat necessarily. They're not easy to get diagnostics. I don't know if there's any pending changes that are waiting for review? I suspect not. Daryl, do you know if there's anything pending?
So I agree with what you just said about all the issues that are preventing us from making great progress on these. It's just been um, a lot of things that are just preventing us from doing the proper diagnosis on these quickly. The only thing that I know is coming, that a fix is being worked on, is one of the method handle changes where we are failing to handle an interface dispatch. Um, so that fix is coming. It's gotten a little bit complicated, but I expect it'll show up either today or very shortly after. And there are at least two problems affected by that. I returned one of them as a dupe of the other this morning just to clear things up a bit, but that may it will be cross-platform and it may correct some of the failures that we're seeing on with method handles. But the rest are all being worked on as best they can. I mean, just trying to get crash artifacts or getting some diagnostic output, and it's just proven to be difficult to reproduce some of these problems.
How risky is the link to virtual change that you're?
Um, I haven't seen it yet. I'm going to think that it won't be incredibly risky. I just put it maybe as a moderate risk. It's just a matter of checking I think if I remember which call returns a pointer that's tagged, and if it's tagged, then we have to treat it as a interface dispatch and do the lookup on that. So I'd put that as a moderate risk.
What I'm hearing then is, we have 21 pending items. They're in various stages of investigation. If I had to characterize the September 30 release date that we've been aiming for, it certainly doesn't sound green. Are we talking something that's yellow, something that's red, something sort of in between those two?
Well, I would characterize it as yellow for sure. I don't know if that would be more red, but of the blockers, I don't think that I don't know how much. I mean, we are making slow progress on some of them, but I don't know if all of them are making enough progress to meet a deadline for next week.
So the end of the month date was not based on, the progress we were making. It was more like a suggestion from Mark. Can we get something at the door by this date? So it may not be realistic.
Okay. My concern continues to be the 029 release and how quickly we run into that.
Right. So I'm going to suggest that we go ahead and branch for it and start double delivering because the flurry of changes for 028 have died down. There was a bunch of stuff last week after we implemented the code freeze. But I mean, yesterday there really wasn't much going in, so I suspect the rest of the changes for 028 could be double delivered. Right, they're going to be slow coming from this point on, it sounds like. Sorry, the rest of the changes for 029 could be double delivered. We've already split for 028.
Yeah, I was going to say the 029, we've got a fairly large. Now there's a lot of items in there that have typically moved forward, but I'm a little concerned about, how many of these things need to be completed?
I don't know that we need to complete any of them. Is there anything in here that's a blocker? I mean, there might be things that people want us to complete, but we could ship without them. Java 8 and Java 11 testing looks fairly clean. Actually, I see the OSX core file issue. That one is a blocker. So we had issues creating core files. We did put in an update to create core files in a different way, and it's not working on all the versions of the OS. And we have a problem on 10.11. We've had to disable those machines in our nightly testing because of the failures. And then even on the other machines, 10.14, 10.13, there's some problem that Mike was looking at where the core file gets created in the wrong place, I think he said. So we do have to resolve that, although the resolution could just be we back out the change that we made for 0.29 and keep working on it for the next release.
That's one we'll have to resolve. There's a second blocker down here looking to a crash compiling.
So that is a JDK 17. I mean, we're not going to look at JDK 17 blockers for 0.29 before we've resolved the stuff, or unless we have extra people that we don't need to resolve the stuff for 0.28.
Right, just looking at the list of things that would need to be double delivered. Those are sort of the two at least that have been tagged in here as must fix.
But I think we have most of the right people on the call. Is there anybody who would object to lifting the code freeze and having a stream for 0.29 that all future changes for 0.29 have to double deliver? I know it would make the GC team happy because they've been sitting on something that they want to get in for after 0.29.
I'll support that.
Yeah, the only comment I'll make is that for any change that's coming in, apart from the GC, it just means triple delivery because the focus from the VM team is, JDK 17, the blocking issues. I don't expect 0.28 and 0.29 to be substantially different.
In terms of JDK 17, you mean?
Yeah.
So Toby, is that a objection to this or a request to delay lifting the code freeze?
I don't want to hold back any of the GC changes, so I'll accept. Maybe a reluctant acceptance.
Well,
Is this a case?
it's
Sorry,
still open for it's still open for discussion. We don't have to lift it. It's just that the flurry of changes seems to have died down. I'm not sure how many things you have in your queue that you think are going to be going into 0.29. But at this point in time, normally we'd be double delivering for 0.29 anyways. So the extra thing is maybe triple delivery for 0.28. And if you're already double delivering, doing that little bit extra to triple deliver is not a whole lot of extra work.
Yeah, that's a good point. I guess the main thing I wanted to say is that given that 0.28 has slipped as much as it has, the delta between 0.28 and 2.9 is very small, and so I think we're going to end up in a position where they're almost identical.
And is that an argument that says that applying patches backwards should be trivial? Or an argument that you prefer that you prefer to delay the branch by a week, for example? Look at this again next week.
Yeah, I think it's an extra it's extra overhead with very little to gain from it. Um, but Peter's point is a good one. We're going to be double delivering anyway, so perhaps the extra delivery um, isn't really a big problem. So I'll withdraw my objection to that.
Okay, so Peter, will you handle the stream creation and we'll lift the code freeze once you've created the stream?
Yeah, so what I've done, I actually already created the branches last week, and then I'm just pushing them forward. So we use the branches today to start an M1 build. And there's probably just a couple things that need to be pushed forward, and then we can lift the code freeze.
So that moves our code split to today. Just okay. All right, so I guess we'll continue to monitor the Java 17 release on a week-by-week basis. Sure what else we can do at this point for that. And as people free up, try and make sure we tackle the blockers and critical issues for the 029 release so we can get that out the door for the October 19 date or as close to that as possible. All right, is there anything else people wanted to say around releases? All right, then do we have an update from the Adopt team?
Oh, just a quick one. We're probably going to be able to deliver the primary platforms, release them later today, and move into finishing the secondary platforms. Most of them we should be able to release within this week. So things are moving well for the September JDK 17 release out of Xamarin. All I was going to update people on. There's a link there to track status for each platform.
Thanks, Shelley. It's great news that the Adopt builds are coming out soon. Adam, is there an update on the infrastructure?
Yes, so I fixed the UMB cleanup artifactory issues, so that's fine now. We still are pretty high on the OS2 artifactory at 91%, so keep an eye on that. For the ARch machine, we have the UB20 and Cent8 guests working, so Raj is cloning out a few of them, but we need some more disks, so we have a request in for that. I'm going to just follow up with him in a while here to make sure we can get the ones we do have online. I think that's it. There is the odd machine offline, but not too crazy.
Thanks, Adam. Just checking to see if we have Devin for an update on the CMake work, but I don't see him. Marius, do we have an update on the JIT server?
We are on track to deliver G server for Java 17. There is only one doc PR that needs to be merged.
That's great.
Seems to me we should ask about ARch64 if there's any status or feeling about how ARch64 is going, if it's ready to come out of early access in 028.
I would say so. I mean, there's only one significant defect at this point that's on the list, and it's a method handle related one.
And it's specific to ARch64?
I don't think so.
Okay, that sounds really good.
Yeah, congrats to the team who's been working on that, on getting that production ready. That's a great step forward. In terms of the Microjet, I have lost track of the dates for those. Do we know when the...
Yeah, next meeting should be 2 days from now, 23rd of September.
Thank you. Toby, is there an update on the snapshot restore efforts?
No, nothing of note for the last couple of weeks.
Jack, I'm going to assume the Loom efforts continue to be deferred.
Yes, Dan. We're waiting for the Java 17 release to be stable before working on Loom.
Cheng, is there an update on Panama?
As for the obco, we have a lot of discussion with the JIT team as to how to, as to the design of the native signature of obco. So now went through the specifics of the code and against the JIT proposal to see how what we can do to satisfy their needs. So that could be take a lot while because proposal how to prototype this is quite complex. So that's everything on my side.
Sure. If there's a design for that, it would be good to get it linked in here so we can.
That's internal. That's internal. I'll explain it in code probably, not in a simplified way.
It would be good to get as much of that design out into the open as possible.
Yeah, I understand. Will do.
Thanks. Peter, is there an update on the spelling tool?
No, I haven't heard anything from that guy for a long time.
Is this something we should keep on the agenda or just drop at this point and bring it back if it's bad?
Yeah, I don't think we need to ask about it every week. When he comes back to us, then we can see about getting it merged in. If it's working well. He was supposed to make it green so that only new spelling mistakes would be flagged.
And given the current state of where we are with Java 17 and the release coming up after that, I think it makes sense to continue to delay any larger discussion on what to do with a monitoring strategy. I'd like to keep this on here, but kind of in a parked state until after the releases come out, and then we can start to think about this in more detail. All right, is there anything else that people would like to discuss today? All right, then thanks everybody. Continue to push on the releases and hopefully we can get those out the door soon. We'll talk again next week. Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks.